So one of the things I wanted to mention is a little bit of a story I had, and going back into why I even got into these replicas in the first place. My background is actually for the last 20 years or so, I've worked in the medical device industry, heavily in manufacturing operations, product development, all kinds of stuff, supply chain, European regulations, yeah, you name it, I've probably worked in it. And you know, I love Apex Legends, and one day I said, "Hey, let me go see if I can, get a replica of something from Apex Legends because I love to collect that kind of stuff." You see the Titans from behind me from Titanfall that 3.0 made. I love that stuff, and so I looked. You go to Etsy, and I looked, and there's a couple of things that I learned, and the first is so. A lot of times on Etsy, they don't show the photo with somebody in the image. And I think the reason why is because the scale is often way off on these weapons. Some people don't bother to paint. They're just printing in color. If you really look at it closely, there's layer lines, all kinds of stuff. And I'll say, I take the photos of my attachments, for example, from about 8 inches away from the attachment. So, what I want you to keep in mind is, if you look at it and you're like, but I can see, a layer line or something minor, keep in mind you're seeing that from 8 inches away, like a highly magnified, high resolution image. So imagine if you're 2 feet away, how it looks very seamless. So my example was, I originally, like about 2 years ago, I bought an RE45 from a guy. And in looking at Etsy, there was only a couple that really looked really good. And this guy was in France, and I know he's a big seller of these. I don't know if he's still doing it. I didn't really look into it, but I got it. And let me kind of talk about a couple things. So this is like $150 plus about $50 in shipping. It took 2 to 3 months to get it. There was all kinds of problems getting into the US. And let me show you the first thing that jumped out when I got it. Look how big it is. I mean, I hate to tell you, I'm not Lieutenant Titus from Space Marine 2 over here. So, I'm like, wow, that scale, and I didn't really think about it at the time other than that's a lot bigger than I expected. I expected because I own firearms. I have a Glock 19, for example. And I was like, wow, that Glock 19 is a subcompact. So the hand grip's going to be a little bit smaller, but, even like an M1911 or, a Beretta or something, this hand grip is huge and not ergonomic. Like it's way off in scale. So, it has a removable magazine, but you can see it has some detail. It has a pullable trigger, which I appreciate. But like that, you look at the iron sight and this whole thing is like 10 pieces of plastic. And I was just really disappointed with that. The other thing is like the paint job. This is 2 years later and the paint job is still sticky to the touch. It's always been sticky to the touch. So that person either didn't know something about paint or how to finish a project properly or something. And that ultimately is what really got me thinking about this. So, here's my version, okay? So let's kind of compare these for a second. You can see, I'll have to put mine in front, otherwise you won't be able to see it. But you can see there's quite a bit, there's, 10-15% difference in scale there. And you can see how well that fits my hand. I also mentioned the hand grip. I have actual hand grip on a hand grip core. The hand grip itself is TPU. So it has like that, kind of like that little bit of a spongy feel to it, like you'd expect, because if you look at the RD45, it's got like a rubberized grip on it. So I think details like that are really important. I just want to make mention of that. So not only is stuff like this why I got into it, but if you are going to shop on Etsy, make sure you're seeing it in relation to the scale of a person. I know I've seen another one where somebody was holding like a Mastiff. And it was a woman holding a Mastiff, and good Lord, the scale was way off. I mean, it looked like it was like 3/4 of her body length. So scale matters. It's really important to making a really believable and good feeling product.